that term, architecture of light, almost like you can just use light to divide a room into an infinite number of possibilities.
Everyone deserves a home that brings them joy. Maybe you're an artist or a collector, or maybe you're an athlete or an audiophile. Everyone deserves a home that's a reflection of their personality. So we wanted to talk to some of the most interesting and inspiring people we could find about how their personalities and their passions impact the homes they live in today. Lachlan Turczan is an artist who uses water, light, and sound to create spaces, objects, and experiences that make the viewer reframe their relationship with natural elements. He's held shows in galleries from LA to Milan. He's created hotel installations from the Catskills to Saudi Arabia, and he's sculpted site-specific artwork for iconic homes and in unexpected natural landscapes, all of which use technological interventions to reinterpret natural phenomena and alter human perception. Thanks so much for doing this, Lachlan.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I 100% am obviously going to get into all the things you're doing today that I'm deeply obsessed with. But before we start, can you tell me what home was like growing up?
Grew up in Southern California at the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains. Born and raised in and around the Pasadena area. And that home is still my parents' home. It's a really wonderful bit of nature. There's always deer and bears around, and I feel like it had a really profound impact on who I am and the work I do. We grew up underneath this wonderful oak tree, this Engelmann oak that was like a family member. And in 2021, there was a pretty severe windstorm, and that did fall. And so it's kind of been slightly changed ever since then. I think my dad made us a joke. He was sort of like, "We have to move now. The tree's gone. Like, there's no point in being here anymore." But he wasn't able to convince my mom to uproot. But that's where I grew up. It's light filled and beautiful. And now I'm based in the arts district here in Los Angeles, where it's very industrial, a lot of square footage, which is nice to make the work that I do, but certainly do miss what feels to be cleaner air and a lot more natural light.
Yeah. Is there a time that you specifically remember, like, seeing nature as art?
So I grew up doodling all the time. I actually went to an arts high school. So ever since I was like 14 years old, I was sort of on this path of becoming an artist. And I really came out of like a tradition of, representing the world in front of me through whatever means I had. And that was led from drawing to a deep interest in like plein air painting. So I have like 30 paintings of the view that my parent, like, that is seen from the parents' house. And I really wanted to basically, in the same way that Monet would go about his haystacks, grow up every morning seeing that vista. And so I took it sort of upon myself to paint that and to try and capture the light. So that was kind of the genesis of like really honoring the place that I am through my work and through my art, and sort of trying to kind of invite natural processes or this, depiction of natural light into a practice. It's interesting to look back at those paintings now. It's like I've ended up in a far different place, but it was a great first step.
Is that kind of the moment of your childhood where you started to feel like there was kind of this kind of nature art connection that led you to kind of some of the stuff you're doing today?
That interest in light as maybe not a material, but as something with a profound impact on daily life and on emotional headspace, was something that I was like, looking back at that now, I can see that it was just clear to me that this interest in light. But it was in 2013, I was studying painting at the Rhode Island School of Design. So I had graduated arts high school here in Los Angeles. I, like so many others, wanted to escape this landscape that I grew up in, and I wanted to get a new perspective. I started getting more and more abstract, less and less concerned about space and the things that are traditionally taking up landscape painting. And my works became just like paintings of the sky at twilight. So it was just these like cascades of like slowly transitioning color. And I was trying to remove any semblance of the hand. So it was like just the most like, the smoothest color transitions without any brush strokes or anything like that. It was really difficult to try and figure that out. And it was at that point where some of my professors were like, "Oh, do you know about the California Light and Space movement?" And I was like, what's that? And it was so funny that I had never, in my whole education in Los Angeles at art school, never really clocked this movement from the 1960s that was pioneered by these thinkers in Southern California and artists that were really interested in this idea of perception and in light and dealing with them, with new kind of cutting edge materials and in new ways. And so I actually like came home for the summer, and there was this James Turrell retrospective on at LACMA, and it was just like everything clicked into place. It was like, oh, this guy is making this work. This is like one of the examples of these artists doing this work. And I kind of put my paintbrush down from that point onward and transitioned out of the painting department, the next semester, and went into the film studies, because that was like the one department where you could work with light as a material itself. So that was my like turning point for me, was like really discovering that there had been a group of people that had like pioneered that path, and I wanted to sort of take on some of those questions myself.
It's amazing. Before we jump into some of the more specific questions about your work, can you maybe just summarize to anyone who might be listening where you've evolved to in the last few years and what you've worked on in that sounds like 15-year journey to where you're at today?
Yeah. I currently now spend my time creating works where I attempt to transform light into something that is palpable and tangible and physically felt. How can you touch light is really maybe the thesis of my practice. And I do that through a series of technological interventions. All the work I make is heavily engineered and very optical. Oftentimes I utilize several branches of like physics, I suppose. I think that's the fun thing in art. It's that you have to sort of maybe not become an expert, but you become interested and you learn enough of all of these discrete disciplines to kind of synthesize a new mode of working. So I pull heavily from optics, from cymatics, which is the study of vibration through matter. So a lot of sound, like really low frequencies that propagate these wave patterns that are able to then shape pools of water, sand, things like that. And then water itself specifically has become a huge tool and area of interest for me, as water being this medium that allows you to, in so many words, like touch light. Like you can reflect light off of a pool of water and you get this beautiful reflection on the wall. And if you are to tap that plate of water, you are, directly shaping that reflection. And so for me, that became this area of study and of obsession almost, pretty much. I mean, I've just been at it for so many years now, and sort of from as many different sides of it as I can to understand it and to experiment with it and to play it and to control it, and then to also invite it, like learn from it, really. I mean, have it teach me as much as I'm trying to harness it. I think that's one of those things that you learn along the way, is that when you're trying to control water, it's very humbling. You just realize like that it has a mind of its own, and it is recommended to just let it do its thing, sort of.
I want to talk about the mixture of science and technology, and I want to talk about how you're using your pieces as objects versus installations and all this kind of stuff. But before we jump into that, you mentioned you're in the arts district now. Are you separating your home and your place of work, or are you creating in your own like living space?
So for the last 3 years, it's been a live workspace, and I'm here right now. It's a sort of a large industrial warehouse that was an industrial warehouse that was converted into some loft spaces. It's a really great community. There's a lot of other amazing writers, musicians, a couple other artists in the building as well. So nice tall ceilings. There's a big skylight, so we got some natural light, but really not as much as I think I grew up with. But it is a kind of showroom / workspace. One of the keystone works to my practice is this piece called Wave Space, which is kind of like a planetarium. Like I call it like a liquid planetarium. And so that is sort of the centerpiece of that work area. And for me, that's this artwork that it's interesting. It's kind of like a living room compromise of that work. The goal has been to create these architecturally discrete structures that house that work and sort of frame it in much the same way that like a James Turrell sky space would be sort of its own space. But I have one in my living room that I'm constantly tinkering with and constantly experimenting with. So it's like, I feel like it's one of the things that I've kind of found along the way as well, is that this, like, so much of my work are like systems that I can time and time again return to and choreograph in new ways. I feel like that's one of the words that is like central to my practice, is like this idea of choreography and of sequentially timed experiences that unfold, and that experience being part of the artwork as well.
It seems like there's a pretty even balance in your work of things that become objects that can be like placed in a space, and then things that are a reaction to a landscape or a space itself. Is that system coming to mind first, and then you're like, oh, it would be amazing if I did this here, or I have to actually make a object to house this?
I would say that like is a pretty even split between site-specific works that are almost not exclude. It's like there's always exceptions to the rule, but like almost everything that's site-specific is almost like outdoors almost, and then anything that is within a space, like within an interior, is going to be traditionally designed and premeditated and conceptualized before fabrication takes place and before any of these other aspects. But in that process of creating it, there's always refinements along the way, and you do like a mock-up, or you do like a series of proofs of concept almost before committing to a larger vision. But maybe it's better to say like the sculptures that I make, which are objects, are almost like instruments. Like maybe it's better to like, it's almost like a luthier rather than a sculptor, because a sculpture you can sometimes think of like it's set and complete and you walk around it and you get all these different experiences of it, as opposed to a painting. But it's like, it's almost like the work is done and that experience is up to the audience to unpack, whereas my works oftentimes have that kinetic quality to them, so that from them you can sort of pull out like just a ton of different kinds of experiences. And so that's sort of what I'm saying. It's like that it can be choreographed or programmed into new suites, new movements that elucidate different kinds of experiences.
So you're living alongside all of your mock-ups and tests on a daily basis?
Yeah, for a long time. Cool. It was pretty hectic. A lot of them were there. Now we've now actually, so I am separating live work a little. I will be. So we just got a larger warehouse, and that's like slowly becoming a more and more practical build space. But the living space was for a long time that like kind of R&D space, and it's sort of now trying to draw a line in the sand between things that are like more complete and I can live with, and things that are like very much trial and error still.
Very cool. It sounds like that community of the Arts District or LA at large has been really valuable to you, like finding fabricators or engineers. Is that all kind of happening in your local community?
1000%. I could not be doing the work that I'm doing now without this amazing network of, you've got the film industry, the aerospace industry, all of these different kind of artisans and fabricators and makers like within greater Los Angeles area. And we have some remarkable partners that we've found.
I was thinking a lot about your work while we were prepping for this, and I feel like there's this funny balance of, not to simplify this, but a lot of residential lighting designers, I would say the majority of the work is to create a feeling while hiding the light. Whereas your work almost flips that on its end. Like your work makes the light or the water almost like the star and encourages people to like stop and reflect. I was just curious if that put anything in your mind.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of those things that I think I've maybe picked up or like kind of observed along the way. It's like fixtures you want to hide. You don't want this like really bright light source to be in your field of view. You want it to bounce off of like a wall or something before hitting your eye, I feel like, because it's a lot more pleasant. Sometimes it's just like it requires, there's no way around that. But I think the more and more I think I still want that to be something where at no point do you have this visual hotspot that is kind of glaring and unpleasant, but sometimes it, like for the life of me, I have had a hard time figuring that out. But it's a puzzle that I'm still mulling over. But yeah, I'm traditionally having people not look at hardware, not look at the apparatus itself, and maybe more at the light itself is really the goal to have them experience. And so these tools and these technologies that we use in order to bring that out can sometimes, I think, take away from that sort of pure state of perceptual experience.
In something I read, you used the term architecture of light. And I was curious, maybe at a larger scale, or you tell me how you think of using light within a space to kind of, I don't know, create moments or spaces or experiences.
Yeah, well, so I think that term and the way of describing some of the work that I've been doing really came out of this most recent body of work, which we unveiled in Milan this past April, which it's a series of really, for all intents and purposes, just like fancy chandeliers that are hanging from the ceiling, but they use these large-scale optics to collimate light and to redirect the flow of light, which is traditionally divergent, into like a laminar stream, into a coherent, so that light, when it hits the floor, falls at a 90-degree angle, perpendicular to the floor, basically. So yeah, light sources are, if you can imagine, they traditionally radiate outwards in all directions. But when you collimate light, when you use these large-scale optics to change that really simple formal transformation, it has a really profound psychological ramifications. Like you see this thing and you think it's like a solid object. Maybe it's light, but it elucidates these conceptions of architecture, of space building, of right angles and walls and all that. So that term, architecture of light, I think when I start to just take these ideas and sort of brainstorm outwards as far as I can go, when money is no option, when it's just like, pure theoretical, playtime, and I start to think about ways that you could kind of infinitely divide a given space with light and kind of create, a complete ephemeral architecture that is not dependent on, physical constraints so much, but on just the ability, like almost like you can just use light to divide a room into an infinite number of possibilities.
I think the piece you're talking about in Milan, if I'm remembering correctly, is it's the circular rays of light that hit the floor. So you're entering that, right? Like it feels like it's a space. Like it feels like you're opening a curtain or a door to step inside, and like there is no, in theory, physical object, but the stuff that you've been able to create is, I think that term architecture of light is so beautifully said, because it really is creating a space.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just was like, if I can make it parallel and feel solid, I'll be happy. That show was kind of put on in collaboration with and produced by Google. So they're like wonderful partners to my studio for a couple of years now. And they were like, well, it's great, but what's next? Like, can you complicate this anyway? Now that we think that light is physical, what does it feel like when you touch it, when you move through it? And so that was their challenge, was to, they basically were asking us to kind of give it these, if it's a material, what material qualities does it have? What is the quality of that physicality? And I came back to this idea of water. And I mean, I think it's so baked into our language, but when we talk about light, we always talk about it streaming in through a window, or there's a pool of light on the floor. It's not this very fluid vocabulary around it. And so that's where I kind of wanted to imbue it with these like kind of liquid characteristics.
That's awesome. Is that where having that team around you really taps in? I'm assuming you're working with engineers and product designers and all kinds of stuff to actually like harness that in that space as well?
Well, it's really, so the studio is right now consists of myself and my long-term collaborator and business partner, Kevin Izard. He is a mechanical engineer, and we first met at I used to work for this water fountain company. So I did that kind coming out of school, I got a job working, as you do, at a water fountain company coming out of art school. And so he and I met while working there, and then 7 years later, some of these opportunities started rolling in, and we were able to kind of form this studio.
Our clients have written hit songs and launched iconic art galleries, designed timeless fashion and produced classic films, crafted stunning furnishings, developed addictive games, and founded innovative companies. They deserve a home where they can rest, play, and be inspired. We're the Up Studio, and we design creative places for creative people.
In the pieces that I've seen that maybe are closer to a water fountain, for lack of a better term, have you had an opportunity, or do you imagine working with those in a residential setting?
Absolutely. That's the hope, is that these can really kind of enrich the daily lives of people so they could live with this experience and provide a moment, like a respite for someone to maybe sort of sit back and relax in the same way that you might when you look into like a campfire or into a fireplace. It's not really asking anything of you. It's this sort of ambient technology. It's this thing that is there, but when you do give yourself or your attention to it, it can be really rewarding and really relaxing and really kind of restorative maybe as well.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the Neutra installation that you did?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe, again, just for context for anyone listening, so Richard Neutra was I believe, California-based architect who did some really beautiful mid-century homes out there that have really lasted the test of time.
Yeah, so my partner and I, Lily Clark, she's another artist, and we put on this installation at that Neutra home where we celebrated and really tried to unpack a lot of the work that he had done in terms of inviting specifically water into the house. There are 3 reflecting pools. There's a 3-story home. There's reflecting pools on every level. So he called them water mirrors as ways to sort of extend and to kind of get more bang for your buck. You almost feel like you have more space when you're looking out at from these specific vantage points, that it sort of multiplies, the outside and natural light and everything like that. So we created a series of works that brought that in via sculpture, via site-specific installations, and also I placed some of my vessels in that reflecting pool as well to further elevate and celebrate water. One of the most surprising things was, I had made these series of vessels. We called them the sympathetic resonance works, which are these mirrored pedestals that have this mirror cladding around the sides, and then they elevate these pools of water and vibrate them, as so much of my work does. And the thinking behind why the pedestal itself was mirrored was to kind of act like water, in that it is a sort of visual paradox, the way that it takes on the characteristics of its surroundings in any given moment. And so then when we were installing at the Neutra house, the caretaker, his name's Noam, he noticed that, I brought that work in. He's like, oh, it's just like the piano legs. And so I had no idea, but Richard Neutra had made these legs for the piano that were perfectly mirror polished chrome legs that he wanted them to fall away and to dissolve into wherever they're placed, so it looks like the piano's almost floating. And I was just like, whoa, this guy's got the same ideas. We're on the same tip. It was really wild to hear that.
How do you go about documenting your work?
Well, for me, documentation is so important, and that's one of the things I'm super grateful for, kind of learning almost tangentially while at art school. It's I went to the film program to learn how to use light, but then while I was there, they were like, here's a camera, figure it out, In the same way that the sketchbook and sketching was so integral to my practice as a painter, I feel like I really view now photography and video as a way to think through imagery, think through optics, and to arrive at these experiential works. So they're almost like proofs of concept, or ways of articulating a specific viewpoint that I really want to preserve or to recreate for audiences that are able to experience it in an embodied way. It's almost like it's an art form in and of itself, maybe as well. Yeah. It's this interesting, very important, I think, aspect of art today for me.
I'm not surprised to hear that you're saying the way that you think about documenting them so that they can be shared is maybe equally as important as the installation itself. I'm just curious, I know you mentioned where you're living now, you don't have the connection to nature that you had as a child. Is that something that you'll seek out in a future home, you think? Making sure that you have
I'm fairly set on staying in Southern California for the time being, and to get a home that can be a really restorative place where we have a bit of nature, but landscapes that really speak to me. Like if the world was my oyster and I could go anywhere. My mom is from New Zealand, and I actually have citizenship in New Zealand, so that's a space that I feel like I would love to spend a significant amount of time and just see family more, be closer to that part of my family. But also from I feel like the California landscape is so varied and beautiful. And I recently went on a road trip and experienced a bit of the northern side of it, and was at a remarkable home in Sea Ranch. And Sea Ranch, California is this just incredible community of like-minded people who the architecture there is all very integrated in the landscape. And I felt like that was really amazing and inspiring to see. But there's something about these golden grasses, oak trees and these rolling hills, and maybe like a big basalt boulder every now and then, that kind of rolling hillside in California. Warm, kind of sun-drenched California landscape is definitely something that every time I see it, I'm like, damn, I gotta get a plot of land like this and build a house.
Well, I'm putting it out into the world. It would not surprise me at all if we spoke in a year and you had a installation at Sea Ranch. It feels very appropriate for your work as well.
Yeah.
I saw the installation that you had done at Salone, I think. And I was curious if the furnishings around that were also designed by your team. They felt very intentional.
So maybe you're talking about the wave space situation where we actually designed custom furniture that is like these really reclined couches that posture you in such a way so that you're when you're gazing upward, it almost fills your entire visual field with water reflections. Which was the goal. We worked with, actually, specifically on the furniture, some really amazing designers at Google. But it was stuff that I was, I kind of was like, this is the goal for it. And then we kind of went back and forth on a few rounds of design to arrive at that. But that was a joy to work with them. They're such gifted designers.
I love it. You mentioned cymatics before. I believe it has to do with bringing vibration and sound into your work. So can you kind of talk us through that and how you think of sound coming together with water and light in your work?
So we use these sound waves, these really low vibrational frequencies, to vibrate and sculpt and shape these pools of water. And then these pools of water act as dynamically changing optics. So water is like glass, right? But unlike glass, it's constantly very sensitive and changeable. And so, sound shapes water, water shapes light, and then light shapes, I guess, your experience. That's the algorithm that a lot of that work functions by. So cymatics in particular became this realm of physics to just learn how to harness so that I could shape these pools of water. And it follows a fairly simple set of rules, like the higher the frequency, the tighter the wavelets are in a pool of water that you can form. And then the lower the frequency, the more, the larger and more sloshing waves that you can create. It's a fractal phenomena. So it's very similar to it. Basically, it's found at all scales in nature. So, if you look at the formation of, like the I mean, you'll see these like patterns on like the back of a tortoise shell, or like the leopard spots of like a leopard. They each follow this kind of periodic way of forming, and that is very akin to cymatics. So it's something that I feel like is a rabbit hole that I could fall kind of continually down. It's really remarkable.
God, nature is so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's truly the wellspring of all stuff.
In all of the studies and work and experimentation and tinkering that you've done, is there any practical application of that you can see being valuable in people's homes and everyday lives?
Yeah, practicality and then art are like sort of like, what's the practicality of this beautiful painting or this sculpture that, you know, enriches your life apart from enriching your life? I think that is the practicality. And like maybe philosophical tools like maybe thinking about them as like ways of shaking up your traditional viewpoint or your assumptions. Maybe that's my hope. But then I don't know, I think if you're kind of presented with it all the time, maybe it just falls back into the background noise.
So the idea to use some of these pieces to basically create moments in people's life where they almost have to pause.
Yeah, if you can take the time to do it and to take it seriously, almost like, I mean, I think that we have these really remarkable structures like going to the cinema, right? You sit down and you open yourself up for that experience, and I think that is something that art sometimes doesn't ask of its audiences, and I think I like that sort of planetarium or like sort of cinematic context oftentimes with the work that I do.
If there was anything, let's say you're building a perfect home, let's do it in New Zealand or up on the coast.
Heck yeah.
Is there something that you don't have in your home today that you would love to have?
Well, the one thing that I really want, and I experienced this when I went actually down to New Zealand. I went to Christchurch, where there was that really intense earthquake. I think it was in 2011. But the emergency architect Shigeru Ban created the cardboard cathedral down there. I don't know if you've seen it or read about it.
I sure have.
Have you been?
No, but I've heard all about it. Yeah.
So I really think that the structure is really beautiful. The material is really cool. But the thing that really stayed with me and something that I want to continue, and if I can ever build a home, this is 100% what I would do. No level change. Not even from the parking lot into it. Completely polished concrete all the way throughout. No point are you stepping down or stepping up. You could glide through that whole space with a skateboard, or, you know, not that that's what I want to do, but I just loved this idea of like, it felt very level playing field. Like everybody is just no higher ground, you know.
What did the not breaking that plane, like what did that concept do for your experience in the space?
I think as soon as I like went in through the door, I was sort of prepared for some level change, some fill, or some like even the slightest difference in that, and not having that clued me into it being just I don't know, it felt so for everybody, and I liked that a lot. So this idea of like democratized sort of ubiquity is something that I really like in my work and in, I think, architecture when I experience it. And I think unless I had experienced it, I wouldn't have clocked it as this thing that felt very inclusive for everybody. But it certainly, when you experience it, it was that. And I just love that sentiment.
Thank you so much for doing this. I know I said it a million times, but myself and the rest of our team are really inspired by your work, and I am very eager to see it in person and excited to see what you're going to do next.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and great to chat. This was lovely.
Of course. As we discuss in these conversations, we really believe that the best home designs are the ones that are the most personal. So if you're looking to pair your personality, your passions, and your lifestyle with home design amenities for a future project, jump over to our website or check out our card game, Personal Space.